What if I told you there's a scientific reason why some service providers get all the high-paying clients they can handle, while others are forced out of business? It's not about who has the better service or even who works harder. It's about something that I call authority loading, and once you understand how to use it to your advantage, you can literally transform how clients see you and what they're willing to pay. I've seen wedding planners quadruple their income, coaches drop their hourly rates completely, and consultants who used to chase clients are now turning them away. In fact, many of my students are now consistently hitting $30K per month using just this approach alone, all while working fewer hours than before. How? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you what authority loading actually is and why it's so powerful, the 5 essential pillars you need to master to build rock-solid authority in your niche, and the best way to use this strategy that most service business owners completely overlook. But first, we need to understand the psychological reason why the marketing you're probably doing right now is failing you. So in his game-changing book, Oversubscribed, marketing expert Daniel Priestley discovered what he calls the 7-11 rule, that potential customers typically need around 7 hours of exposure to you across 11 different interactions before they trust your brand enough to pay you. And Priestley didn't make these numbers up. So the 7 hours came from studies showing that spending about 7 hours with someone makes them feel like a friend, or at least someone you know well. And the 11 times part, that comes right from Google's research on how people shop. So they looked at what users do online and found that it usually takes about 11 different touch points before most people decide to buy. And that explains why all those one-off marketing tactics that you're experimenting with, the random social post, the occasional email, the once-in-a-while networking event, almost never turn into actual clients. But here's what most service providers don't realize. So when clients don't have enough information to judge your expertise, they default to the one thing they can really easily compare: your price. I've been there myself. For years I was frustrated when potential clients would ghost me after getting my quote, or maybe even worse, try to negotiate me down to rates that wouldn't even cover my expenses. So I was stuck in the price shopping trap, and it was exhausting. On the other hand, when you position yourself differently, when you load up on authority, price stops being the deciding factor. Instead, clients are going to focus on the unique value that you bring and the specific results that you can get for them. So, what exactly is authority loading? It's all about deliberately stacking 5 key elements in your business that make potential clients see you as the go-to expert. So, I've been obsessing over this concept for years because it completely flips the client-chasing script. Think back to the last person that you hired for a service. Maybe it was a dog sitter or a web designer or a contractor. Did you choose the first one you found? Probably not. I bet you went with someone who felt trustworthy and someone who just really seemed to know what they're talking about. That's authority, and it's not just random. It can be built systematically with just 5 pillars. The first pillar is expertise. Now, this one seems pretty obvious, but I used to get it all wrong. So I would gatekeep all of my website strategies thinking, if I give away how I do it, why would anyone hire me, right? And that kind of thinking kept me small for way too long. When I started finally, freely sharing what I knew through my content, something clicked. People would reach out saying, I've read your article, or I've been following your videos for months. I already know that you can help me. When can we start? Because people saw my expertise in action through my videos and my blog posts, and suddenly they weren't shopping on price anymore. The second pillar is results. So this is where you actually show proof that what you're teaching works. Because let's face it, everyone claims they can get results, but claims aren't enough today. You need to show before and afters, share specific numbers and tell real stories about actual people that you've helped. I remember this business coach that I worked with who just felt really self-conscious because she didn't have any impressive client transformations yet. So we just had her document her own journey building her business, the strategies that she used to get her first 5 clients, how she structured her offers, all that good stuff. And she turned that into content, and guess what? People connected with her honesty. They thought, if she can do this for herself, she can probably help me too. Pillar number 3 is visibility. This is huge. So you could be the best in the world at what you do, but if nobody knows about you, it doesn't matter, right? You've got to be seen. Think about how many times you've chosen a product or service just because it felt familiar. Maybe you saw it a bunch of times on social media, or a friend mentioned it, or you just kept coming across their content when you were researching something. Consistent visibility is like compound interest. Each touch point builds on the last one until suddenly people are reaching out saying, I feel like I already know you. And that's when you've established absolute authority in the minds of your potential clients. Okay, now let's talk about the 4th pillar, social proof. This is where other people start vouching for you. Think about the last time you tried a new restaurant. Did you just randomly pick one, or did you check reviews first? Most of us want to know what other people are thinking before we take any kind of risk. That's just human nature. I remember when I first launched my latest course, the YouTube to Clients Academy, last September, and it actually sold pretty well when I first launched it, but I knew that once it was out there long enough to start getting some good reviews and student testimonials, that it would sell way better. So we made a serious push to collect just 5 really strong testimonials from my students, and then we added them to the sales page, and our latest launch numbers nearly doubled. Nothing else changed, just adding that social proof made all the difference. And the beauty is, as you build more social proof, it gets easier to get even more. It's kind of like a snowball effect. And our 5th pillar is communication. Now, this ties everything together. It's not just what you know, it's all in how you explain it. So when I was younger, starting my own business for the very first time, I thought that sounding professional and using the industry jargon made me sound smart, which I thought people would like. But the thing is, the opposite is actually true. What really impresses people is when you can take something complex and make it crystal clear. It's what I now really try hard to do in every video that I make. When I simplified my language and I started focusing on making those hard concepts easy to understand, I noticed that people were more engaged. They would comment things like, you explain that better than anyone else, or I finally get it now. And I get it, authority loading sounds like a lot of things to keep track of, but I'll let you in on a little secret. There is a simple way to build all 5 pillars at once. Spoiler alert, it's YouTube. YouTube is the secret weapon for service businesses in 2025, and I guarantee that most of your competitors aren't using it yet. They're still stuck on the hamster wheel, posting all the random stuff on Instagram or sending cold emails that, let's face it, nobody reads. So why is YouTube so powerful for authority building? First, it's huge. Over 2.5 billion people use YouTube every month. And if you watch my videos, you already know that it's the 2nd biggest search engine in the world, right after Google. And get this, your YouTube videos even show up in Google search results too.
Did you just double dip that shit?
Yep, YouTube lets you double dip in both YouTube and Google searches, giving you pretty amazing reach. Second, video is just different. So when someone watches your videos, they see your face, they hear your voice, they really get a feel for who you are. One of my students told me that after watching just 3 of my videos, she felt like she already knew me. And that's exactly what we want when we're trying to stand out, right? Most people spend about 40 minutes in a single YouTube session. So I want you to compare that to the 2 seconds that they might spend scrolling past your social media post. YouTube just gives you way more time to connect with people. But here's the real magic. YouTube helps you build all 5 authority pillars at the same time. You demonstrate your expertise by teaching stuff you know, you show real results through case studies and examples, you get visibility because YouTube suggests your videos to people, and then you build social proof through subscribers and comments, and you naturally get better at communicating with every video you make. I want to tell you about Jamie. She's a wedding planner who completely blew up her business using authority loading with YouTube. So Jamie used to do things the old-fashioned way, right? She'd spend thousands of dollars and time away from her kids setting up these fancy booths at wedding expos. She'd stand there all day competing with dozens of other planners, all for the attention of these overwhelmed couples. And some days she'd book clients, other days she'd go home empty-handed after hours of pitching. It was exhausting and unpredictable. But then Jamie tried something different. She started making these really simple videos right from her bedroom, just sharing her best wedding planning advice. Nothing fancy. She didn't even have professional equipment. It was basically just her phone propped up on some books, talking about things like how to plan a backyard wedding or who should you invite. And here's the important thing, she wasn't directly selling her services in her videos. She was just genuinely trying to help these brides solve common problems. But when Jamie reluctantly attended her next wedding expo, something very unexpected happened. Brides actually started approaching her booth, some literally in tears because they were so excited to meet her in person. They'd been watching her videos for months and they felt like they already knew her. And these weren't just any leads, they were pre-sold on Jamie's expertise. They booked her services and they paid her rates without trying to negotiate her down, They trusted her completely. And the best part is, as her authority grew, Jamie was able to launch a new membership program where she was able to help couples, not one-on-one anymore, but in a much more scalable way. She could answer their questions, she hosted private webinars and all that good stuff. So this allowed her to really stop doing the time-intensive one couples at a time thing that can really limit how much she could make in a year. So cut to today, Jamie makes 4 times what she did as a full-time planner, working a lot fewer hours and helping more people. All because she loaded up her authority through consistent, helpful YouTube videos. So if you're now convinced that YouTube's gonna be your best bet in 2025, you are on the right track. But, and I do have to stress this, there is a huge mistake that way too many businesses make with their videos, and guess what? I made it too. So if you want to know what I did wrong that stopped me from getting clients back in those early days, and the pivot that I made that changed everything, click this video right here. So trust me, it's way easier to just learn from my mistake than to have to figure it out the hard way yourself. So click right here and I'll show you what I mean.